what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Speak from the Heart, a testimonial podcast series where athletes share how God worked through their lives and their athletic career. And today I'm joined by the quarterback for the University of the Houston Cougars, Zeon Chris. So welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to have you on.
Chris to the end zone. Caught for a touchdown.
College football, but I think you see some confidence from Neon Zeon.
Three tight ends in. Pop pass over the top. It's Carr, the former basketball player.
I'm glad to be here.
So give me some of your background. You're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and football in Louisiana means a lot. And there's lots of talent there. What was your upbringing like, and how did that environment shape who you are today? And why did you end up deciding to choose football?
My upbringing, we wasn't the richest, but we sure wasn't poor or anything like that. It was like in the middle. My background, my parents or grandparents, they always taught about discipline. If it was waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, cutting the grass or cleaning the house, making sure all your grades are done, anything like that nature. And just the foundation of Christ, having God in your life. And I can honestly say, even though I was taught, so I was raised up in the church and I didn't have a relationship with God on my own. I knew God, knew that God wanted me, but I wanted to go even in more depth and actually take this thing serious, and not living for the world. And he had told me, he said, Z, I've called you to be different. I called you to be set apart, to be anointed. And I embraced that. I remember being in my kitchen and I was sitting there and it was like God was pulling me to something. I didn't know what it was at the time. And I was like, all right, Lord, you can use me, you can have me. I was crying. I didn't know what he was trying to use me for, but I knew it was something that was just powerful that he wanted to use through my life one day. And I always knew since that moment I'm gonna be something special because God came to me himself and told me that he's called me. And so that's some of the main things. It's been a journey for
Yeah.
sure.
So coming out of Madison Prep, you were a 3-star recruit, one of the top quarterbacks in the state, and you led your team to a state championship. So how did that high school journey look like for you, and what did winning that title mean to you personally at the time?
It meant a lot to me personally. I felt like I was underlooked my whole life. I was just a straight up baller. My dad would tell me that. People outside would tell me that. And, not having all the resources sometimes can kind of limit you to the outside world. But I was just an underlooked dog. Kind of like a Ken Ward story a little bit,
Yeah.
knowing him. And it just felt like I had a motive and a passion. And, I always wanted to get to the NFL. And my desire had shifted. It was from, just the cars, the fame, the money, until God came to me. He shifted my focus and he said, I want to glorify my name through what you want to do in football and with a platform one day. Just like Tim Tebow is doing right now. And
Yeah.
basically what you're doing right now, just however I can get the gospel out there. Because like I said, this world don't really satisfy me. Like anything like that, like it can't fully satisfy me. It only can temporarily do it, but just through Jesus and letting him work through my life and working for him, that's what truly satisfies me. And in high school, it was like I said, it was a transition. I had to come from out of the world and come to Christ and learn wisdom and knowledge. And that state championship meant so much to me. I remember at the beginning of the season, like before the season started, I had a dream that we were going to win the state championship. And I said, that's when I started, okay, hearing from him, like, man, God really speaks to us. He speaks to us in dreams, visions, through the word of God. And we ended up winning that year. And I knew it was for a purpose and a plan, not my own, because I was also infecting the people that was around me as well. I would start doing little Bible studies. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, we would read things and not know what we were reading, but I just for some reason just drawing people,
Yeah.
and that tells you like you might not know all the words in the Bible from front to back, But if you have anointing on you, if you have Christ inside of you, you can draw all people, no matter who you are, what you are,
Yeah,
in any
exactly
age.
right. Yeah, it's pretty powerful too. I mean, there's a lot of things in the Bible that there's things that I don't understand or I've not read yet, or things that in the end, it's being a prophet for Christ and being a messenger for his word and spreading the
Hmm.
truth, spreading the gospel, like you said, being anointed and being called to have a purpose to bring others to the kingdom. And that's the biggest thing. But honestly, we also need to do our work of being knowledgeable on honestly getting more wisdom and really diving deep into his word so we can become better people and better Christians. So that's pretty powerful. When did recruiting start picking up for you, and when colleges started to call? What was that process like for you mentally and emotionally, and how did you handle kind of the expectations of being a D1 commit, the comparisons, and maybe the outside noise that you experienced at such a young age?
Yeah, so I remember after my 10th grade year, that my 10th grade year, we had the most passing yards and touchdowns in the state at that time. And I remember after that season, I got a phone call from Memphis. That was my first like real offer. And I was just so excited because I'm like, this is something like new to me. I never got an offer before. And it was just it kind of had my body shaking a little bit because I was like, God really about to do some great things in my life, like he told me. And it didn't really start getting really picked up into my 11th grade year. That's when we won the state championship. So I got the offer from Memphis. So people were starting to know about me, but they wanted to see like in-game film the next season. And that happened. I started getting offers from, multiple schools, started getting recognized. And at that time I was still feel like an underdog, a 3-star coming out of high
Mm-hmm.
school. Like I say, we didn't have all the resources. Well, I just made do for what it was. And it's kind of been, me my whole life. Just figuring it out and just trusting God. Let God do the work. He's the miracle worker. He's the God of miracle signs and wonders. So that's kind of what I live by. And even after my senior year starting up, I was committed to UL. I committed to Coach Nagel. He ended up leaving UL. He went to Florida at the time, and I still stuck it out with UL. But to me, it didn't really feel too much. I didn't have too much pressure at that time because my name wasn't like, big, like as in like a 5-star. But I feel like I had a chip on my shoulder for me to not just prove everybody wrong, but just to prove myself right and to glorify God in that way.
Yeah. And when it came to make a decision, you chose to begin your career, your college career with Louisiana. So, what
Hmm.
stood out about that opportunity, and what were some of the biggest lessons that you learned during your time there?
Wow. I can smile right now just appreciating that time at UL. It's done a lot for me spiritually, but like it was just close to home, and there was like one of the hottest group of five names at the time. There was winning the Sun Belt championship, so I fell in love with the place. And like the quarterback Levi Lewis at the time, he was just dominating, and he was a shorter guy dominating at the level. So I fell in love with that. I fell in love with Coach Dez. I fell in love with the whole culture itself, and just being from Louisiana. And that time at UL, it was so pivotal for me. That's when I started picking up my relationship with God even more. When I say picking up my relationship, it's really not so the relationship in general, but just the knowledge and the love of Christ that He has for me. And I started reading the Word. Like He would start drawing me so much. I wouldn't even notice that I was reading my Bible for like 5, 6 hours in the afternoon, like
Yeah,
crying to Him. I would have worship songs. I was just crying to Him. And at that time, I wasn't really thinking too big. I had it. People would prophesy over me. They would tell me things on my future, but I wasn't really um thinking about too big. I was just thinking about God at the time, and it just felt like it was that season was just strictly Him. I was just learning all of Him from different people that was teaching me, and I mean, of course, even now, but at that time, it was just like when you it's kind of that moment when you first get saved. Even though I've been saved uh a little bit, have my time in high school, or really my whole high school career, it just started picking like the fire in me started to ignite even more. And that's the only thing I've been worried about, is just Christ, Christ, Christ. And
Yeah.
then opportunities start presenting itself even with the football. And I didn't even catch it. I didn't even notice. I'm like, whoa, this kind of caught me by surprise. Because I was so focused on him that it felt like it wasn't even an issue or a struggle going through what I was going through.
Yeah. And that's cool. You touch on that part of it. Like you're so focused on him that things that affect us worldly don't really mean as much because
Right.
that's where this is kind of all about is like dropping your biggest like drop we drop the masks of what we on the surface of what we go through, but when we really dig deep in our problems and our issues and the things that we've gone through, the adversity, the struggle, and those places where I've struggled, I've been worked through Jesus so much that the places that I or maybe my insecurities or maybe my weaknesses are where he is. So
Hmm.
like we can be strong in that. We can be warriors and we continue to conquer and do the best that we can to be messengers for Christ because our weaknesses we give them to him, and the things we experience on earth, the struggle, the setbacks, we're more likely to trust in his plan because we're all in with what he has in store for us.
Right.
And so if I may be taking a step back or I may be going, left, right, whatever direction that I'm going, and there's a part of me that's like, oh dang, why am I going this way? But in
Hmm.
the end, like your story is up to God, and His will for your life is good. So just leaning into that
Right.
and realizing that it's okay to go backwards a little bit. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to mess up along the way or not really sure where you're going. Um,
Amen.
it's going to be fine because you're a child of God. You're anointed. You're chosen. So he's working through you and going to do the best that he can to lead you the right way. And it's our decision because we have the free will to do that, to not do what he wants us to do what we want to do, to live of this world. So walking with
Hmm.
Jesus, walking for him will lead us into the right direction, which I think that you're
Amen.
doing a pretty good job, man. I mean, the things that you do, the things you
Thank
post,
you.
you're doing a good job. That's pretty special.
Thank
So
you.
during your time at Louisiana, you experienced both opportunity and adversity. You had a season-ending injury against Arkansas State. So how did that season challenge your faith, and what did God teach you or try to voice to you during your time away from the field? And just kind of walk
Mhm.
walk us through a little bit about that injury and how that impacted you mentally and spiritually.
So first, I want to start off, and it's very powerful. I wasn't starting at that time. I think it was like third or second or third game. I can't remember. Before the game had started, God was like showing me a vision, and I can kind of describe it, but basically what he told me was, he says, "I'm finna explode you in victory," and basically he was saying, I'm finna take off. Like he's finna do something magical, and I was like, huh. And I told my teammate, I remember telling him that day, and I told him, I said, God said he finna explode me in victory today. And I remember the starter at the time, he went down and I had to go in. I'm like, man, this is what God talking about right now. And I went in there, I ran like an 80-yard touchdown, throwing the ball over the field and just going on ESPN. My name started going kind of everywhere. And like, I'm like, wow, God just told me before this game that he was gonna explode me in victory. And my teammate over here witnessing too, he's kind of like jaw dropping because he's not really like that much of a believer at the time, but he's kind of confused, like God is real. And so like
Yeah.
that, even things like that, glorifying God through your work. It's not just
Hmm.
about you. It's about people
Yeah.
that's watching you. And going through the season, it was a wonderful season. I balled out. I started getting recognition from everywhere, even different schools. Um, but the injury really didn't affect me mentally like how I thought it would, or how people thought it would. I remember being hurt. It was hurt bad. I was just smiling because at that time I was so I was just so soaked in my word and just focused on God that for some reason I just wasn't worried at all. And I'm like, I know word, and God got me. And people like people can tell you that was on that team. I was smiling off the field. A lot of people probably be crying and just mad that they can't play, but I was smiling. And even through the process of me recovering and going through surgery, it's just all smiles, just ready to get back.
Yeah.
And
Um,
yeah,
oh, sorry. Were you still going? It kind of cut, so I didn't know if you stopped talking or anything. I got
nah,
you.
you got
Well,
it.
um, so what, like, whenever you went through that and you were smiling about it, how did that mental process of understanding that God's got me, how has that propelled you as a person as well, other than just a football player?
Um, it really, when I look back on that moment, it really taught me even now because sometimes I face challenges now and I'd be like, where I need to get that smile back. Like when I'm going through adversity, I want that smile again. And at the time, I was so focused on God and His Word. And that's when I look back at it now, it's like, if I just focus on God and His Word and not worry about my outside storm, I'll be able to walk on water faithfully. I won't sink. I'll be able to
Yeah,
look Jesus in the eyes, and He'll give me a peace that surpasses all understanding. He'll give me a peace through the storm. And so I think that's like the biggest challenge because a lot of believers, the Bible talks about there's trouble on every side. There's trouble everywhere you go. Like trouble is coming to find you. Nobody's exempt from temptation, trouble, or anything. But just the fact that we have a savior or somebody there to comfort us while we're walking through it, it makes the adversity um not less of a challenge, but it gives you strength and like it talks about in Ephesians having your armor on. It just that protection, and I feel like every believer should start to walk in that, and not forget about the word of God, and not forget about that Jesus is our safety place.
yeah, and that's big of just understanding that, like, he's
Yeah.
he's our armor, like putting on the armor of God, and whatever we face that may be worldly, people talking bad about us, ego, pride, any types of sin against us that maybe is toward us, or the things that tempt us. They can't affect us when we have that armor on, and being living in the Word, like how you said,
Yeah.
soaked in the Word. You almost
Amen.
become immune to all those things, and life. You're just so at peace with things, and that honestly, that level of
Right.
being spiritual is so special. And there's been times where I've felt that, but have started to stray away, because I mean, being a Christian sometimes is hard. You got to be very diligent in your work, and you can't really,
Hmm.
obviously, learning about the Bible, learning about how God worked, like how Jesus walked, are all important things in being a Christian and understanding who Jesus was. And sometimes we can kind of, take it easy and be like, okay, yeah, I know the Bible, I know the story, and then we don't really read the word when into the gospel, and then things start to tempt us, like, oh, it's okay if I do this, it's all right if I do this, I'll go and party,
Yep.
I'll go and do this, I'll go and whatever. And parties aren't bad. I mean, even Jesus went to parties, but it's just the things that you do there that is obviously depends on if it's bad or not. But all those things are super important. Just being soaked in the
Right.
word, that was cool of what how you worded that. So let's talk about after you decided to enter the transfer portal. So you enter the portal after Louisiana, and you're going to Houston. So what went into that decision, and why did Houston feel like the right place for you?
It's a lot of things. It's some things I really couldn't share right now, but eventually I'll be able to give that testimony part out one day. I want to so bad, but the time will be right for that. But Houston, at that time, it just felt like home. It still felt like a home, even me leaving. They were very welcoming people, and I just felt like Coach Fritz at the time was, he was coming in. He was a program builder, and I felt like he was going to build something. And it was just something about what God wanted to do with me over there. And I even I mean, the same thing I was doing at UL. I was even preaching and teaching all throughout the locker room. I forgot to even mention that. Like, God had me practicing and preparing for ministry ahead. Like, I'm talking about pulling the word of God out. People be talking about other things in the world. Like, I'm talking about crazy things in the world. And I walk my Bible over there, everybody begin to be quiet. And then the whole focus shift because God just gave me a boldness that I don't have to walk this way. I can walk this way. Like I said, even since I was young, he always called me to be different. And when I was at Houston, amped up even more. I started knowing the word of God even more. Like the studying
Yeah.
I do, I can go really deep into it. Um, I was just preaching, and for some reason, it got harder for me, challenging wise. Like just the battles that I faced here. I thought it would be easy, but like you said, is I didn't think it was gonna be that hard. I came off an injury and it felt easy. But when I came here, just a lot of things kind of feel a little hard for me. Um, my whole 2 years here has been like a challenge and a test of my faith. But I believe that it grew me a lot spiritually.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. Being able to preach to your teammates. Uh, and so let's go into that. What was so taking that role of being a leader spiritually to your teammates? What kind of role did you feel like, and how did you connect with your team while introducing, being a preacher, kind of giving them the ministry, spreading the word? How was that for you, and how did that affect them?
They're very accepting of it because, like I say, everybody deals with challenges every day, and everybody's just seeking something. Especially when we get to this college level. Um, Connecting with them was easy. They were all good guys. I never had bad experiences with none of them, and just helping them with their life problems. Like some people on the team, they have like kids,
Yeah,
and they will even come to me for prayer, like with healing in their body. And then a week later, they're back on the field playing. It'll be things like that, and they
yeah,
just trusted me because I wouldn't come in to bash them, anything like that. I came with the truth, of course, but it never was bash. It was all just love.
yeah,
And when you get that trust, even when you're on the field, when it's time to correct or to help your brother or tell them the truth on the field, they'll be accepting of it because they'll say, okay, Z, he knows, he feel like this is best for me.
yeah. So let's go into that's pretty special. Let's go into this past season, and you've had some major moments. You from stepping on and starting and having crazy games like the Kansas State game. And I've actually looked into some of the stats. You were 11 for 11 passing with 103 yards, with 75 rushing yards, two total touchdowns. Big 12 co newcomer of the week, Manning Awards star of the week, and Davey O'Brien Great Eight. And you had all these awards. So how did it feel to see all that success from all the preparation? When preparation meets opportunity, how did you keep God at the center during all that success?
Um, I mean, when things like that happen, I kind of bring back myself to the moment that I told God He can use me every time. I said, God, you can use me, you can have me, I'm yours, I'm not my own. And I've always said that. I told God, I'm yours. Like I'm submitted to you forever, no matter how big it get, how small it get, I'm submitted to you forever. And it just be a so rare moment because He's doing exactly what He said He's going to do, and He's
Yeah,
glorifying His name. And even to the social media community, everybody is hearing the word, through my platform. But keeping God at the center for me is easy. I just always stay in prayer, and I know the realization that if it's not God in my life, I would not have anything I'm having right now. Even the anointing of me preaching the word, sharing that light. Like I just stay humble with it, because I know the truth about things. Like the light that I even have right now is not my own. It comes from Christ. My
Yeah.
abilities that I have, the talents that I have, all those things come from Christ. So when we get into, I believe in boasting in the Lord, boasting in what God is doing for us. But me myself, I don't usually boast that I'm doing something when I know that Jesus Christ is doing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, we always try to say, stay humble, remain humble. But I actually like totally believe that without him, I would not have what I have now. And that's what
Yeah.
kind of keeps me humble when people, tell me good job and uh all these things, I get these rewards. And I mean like, I really ain't do this. God just gave me the ability. It's for him. That's who I'm doing it for. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the things I do.
Yeah. And kind of touching on this a little bit, like you already kind of mentioned, on the good side of things, you bring it back to him. So let's look on the opposite side of that. How does your faith help you handle pressure, criticism, or expectations whenever things don't go well or don't go perfect on the field?
Mhm. I can speak a lot about this, but I'll say the truth is that a lot of times people think that I'm just this perfect guy. Like I don't go through anything. I handle every situation perfectly. But that's
Yeah.
not always the case even for me. Sometimes I had moments where like I would literally get mad at God, with certain things. But I think the being genuine with God is very important. Showing him how you feel and telling him the truth, even when you get sad or even when you're happy. And I will always go to God. If I'm mad, sad, happy, I'm going to God. If I got a problem, like Lord, what's going on with this? Like why? And then he'll begin to tell me, and then he'll begin to minister to me, and then he'll get to teach me and correct me, and he'll grow me. And my faith in him, in his word and trusting in him sometimes is a challenge, even when people are criticizing me, even online. I have to say to myself, to pray for them. Like I feel like that even grows me. I'm like, I'm not gonna talk bad about them. I want to pray for them and love them, just
Yeah.
like Jesus did. So I'm just trying to imitate Jesus, however way I can. I know I'm not perfect, but He didn't call us to be perfect. He just called us to follow Him and let
Yeah.
His work glorify.
Yeah. And I can understand that in a sense. I've never been on a huge platform sports wise, but I've had a little taste of it with social media, being able to have my content out there, have myself out there, and getting comments that are like, God isn't real. This is stupid. Like, yeah, you like why are you talking about like this? Like, you're not the main character of their story. What a like all these comments of people that are telling me that I should stop, telling me this is dumb, all that stuff. Like, it's so
Mm.
easy to be like, I'm going to come from a place of anger and like really get boiled up
Hmm.
to be like, you know what, I'm going to sit you down like just how you're trying to do it to me and meet them eye to eye. But that's not the right way. We're not supposed to do that. Jesus
Right.
never did that. He never lashed out. He looked at the people that would persecute other people and ask, oh, if you're free of sin, if you've never sinned before,
Come on.
then you're the first one to cast the stone.
Come on.
So that's always what I try to come back to and realize that he doesn't come from a place of anger or being able to lash out at other people. He comes from a place of love. And so whenever I get those comments, I pray for those people just like you said. You pray for the ones that are critical of you, and that's one of the
Mhm.
hardest things to do as a Christian, I think, in my opinion, because of how easy it is to want to like it's almost instant like clap back, like wanting to say something rude or try to get back at
Yep.
somebody. That's not what we're called to do, and that's one of the hardest temptations of our flesh that I think pride and ego and
Yep.
wanting to hold yourself like to a higher standard and be like, oh, I'm you, who are you to make fun of me, or who are you to tell me what to do? Like, it's so easy to go to that, but we're called to be patient and to have peace in the Lord and His will for us. So just you know kill them with kindness. Like, that's the only way that
Amen.
we could really go about with things. And it's such a cliche, but it's what we're called to do. And even though it's extremely hard, it's what we're called to do. Uh,
Amen.
so let's talk about the future a little bit. And I
Mhm.
mentioned this a little bit earlier. You announced that you're actually in the portal.
Yeah.
So that's a really noisy, uncertain place. There's a lot of opinions, a lot of conversations, and pressure from the outside. Who's going to pick me up? What's going to happen? Am I going to go to the right place? Is this the right decision? All those things. I've been through that experience twice, and like we talked about before we started recording, you've had the similar experience. So how is navigating this season of transitioning spiritually, how has that been for you? And what is God teaching about you with trust and patience and being obedient right now?
It's teaching me right now. It's challenging. It has a lot of emotions. It's um worrying sometimes, but then you have to go back to your faith. And it's always reminding me, Jesus always reminded me of this, of the story like Abraham and God calling him to go to a place. He didn't know where to go, how he was going to get there, but he had to just trust God. And when he trusts God, the promise came. And like I said, he's not calling you to be perfect, but just you gotta trust him. And in this season, it's just being still. Like being still and trusting I'm working for you and I'm doing what is the best thing for you. And I feel like I've been through so many situations to where I had to trust God, like so many. I could tell you some things that will blow your mind, but like I said, I couldn't say that right now. Eventually, that testimony will come out, but it's just something. It's just like, wow, you did the impossible. Like David says, like you delivered me from the paw of the lion and the bear. Like surely you're gonna deliver me from the Philistine. So if God done it in my life once, twice, and He's doing it countless of times, and I'm still here, remain today, then He's
Yeah,
faithful and just to do it again.
exactly right. And just having that peace and trust. First time I went after leaving EKU, Eastern Kentucky,
Hmm.
I had no idea what was going on. There were so many things happening, and I was worried for my future. But the second time I did, I was like, God's got me. Man, I've been through this already. He landed me at a great spot. I learned so many good things at IU Southeast, which is the place that I went to, and that
Yep.
molded me into the person I need to be today to be where I am now. So I think he was
Amen.
preparing me, and so he has a purpose to his plan, even though it may not be like a straight line. It he has a plan, and it will work if we trust in him and believe that he's leading us the right way.
Yep.
So, if there's an athlete listening to this right now who feels maybe behind or overlooked or unsure about their future, what would you want them to hear from you today?
Man, I'll say to the overlooked and the outcast, um, man, know that you are special. Know that you are anointed. God has great things for you. Just trusting God, knowing that He has a plan for your life. And I always know this for a fact. If you're still here on this earth, you still got a purpose. If you didn't have a purpose no more, he would have been took you home. But since you're on this earth, you have a purpose for him. And it's not to glorify man. It's not to glorify even your family. It's to glorify Christ. That even your family members will come and they'll see the great things he has in store for you.
Yeah, that's pretty special. You still have a plan. He still has a purpose for your life. If you're still here, that's something you got to remind yourself every day. And I think that's really powerful. But
Man,
man, that's all I got. If you got anything else, you got the floor.
we covered a lot.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man. I wish you the absolute best of luck with the portal process. I believe that God was is going to lead you to the right place, and I'll be praying for your transition, man. But I actually talked to Amari Snowden. He's a corner for Toledo, and he's in the portal too. And man, it's a scary place sometimes, but you just got to believe that God's leading you the right way.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you
of
so
course,
much for
man.
having me.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you today. But thank you all so much for watching, and come back next Sunday for the next episode of Speak from the Heart.